So you know your poetry by heart, really?
No, it's on
Huh?
the phone.
On the phone.
I can't
Oh, okay.
remember any of them.
Hmm. I think we are live.
Okay.
Just doing the bits and pieces. Okay. Getting the news that I am not live yet. I don't know. Trying to tag you.
I think you have.
I have. You can see me.
I have. I
I
can
tagged
see.
you, Swati Patel.
Yes, yes, it's working.
It's working. All good.
I think I can see you.
Hmm. You can see on the Facebook we are live.
I just saw, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Let's assume we are live. Anyway, there's recording going on.
Okay.
So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dashna's chat show, Reflections with Dashna. And we meet every Sunday at 8 p.m. So make sure you log in at 8 p.m. We could be just a little 2 minutes here and there, trying to go live on Facebook and with Zoom connections. We do have some technical issues sometimes, but thanks for waiting. And please join me in welcoming a beautiful guest, Rahi. She is a poet and she is a super mom as well. So, Rahi, welcome to my show. How are you doing today?
Hi. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm good, thank you. Just like you mentioned, super mom. I don't know, but been busy with the kids.
So, of course, Supermom, I'm saying Supermom because I've seen you do so many things. You're continuously very busy. And personal thing, you don't reply to my text that quickly.
Sorry about that. That's a good excuse. When you have children, it's one good excuse that I'm busy with kids, and then you don't reply to people.
Good idea, good idea. So, what is it? How do you juggle between your work life? I believe you help with translation services. You help your husband with translation services, plus you're a homemaker, so looking after the house, plus the kids, and you're a poet as well. So, how do you juggle all this together? Tell me the secret.
I
And ever
don't think
smiling, huh? Rahi is ever smiling.
it's,
So, tell me the
I don't
secret.
think it's called juggling. To be honest, it's called living. Everyone has to do. सबको लगता है कि हम लोग busy है किसी को you may be busy working, you may be busy with kids, you may be busy with some charity. There's so much happening. Everyone is busy these days, so there's no such thing as super mom, to be honest. And another thing is you need a support system when you are doing so many things. So my family is my support system. So you can't just give me the credit for being a super mom or being this and that and whatever. Um, Without your family, I don't think you can do so many things. You can't achieve so many things. So you need kind of support system.
Yeah, that's true indeed. Even I do many things, but my husband's parents, their support I have, and of course my husband's support. You are so right. Without the family support, actually, it wouldn't be fun, isn't it, to do all the things if there was no support from the
And
family?
there is no sense of achievement if you don't have your family around you. I don't think, why do you do things and who do you do them for if you don't have your family around you? So
Exactly, exactly. So you are a poet as well, and I've heard your poetries before. Very beautiful poems you have written. So when did you start writing?
okay, before I answer your question, I know you write really, really amazing poems too. And you actually published a book recently, I think a couple of years ago.
Yes,
So I'm
just
not
last year.
I'm not going to let you go without reciting at least few poems. Yes. So no, when I
Definitely.
started writing is when maybe I must have been 10 or 12. I can't really remember correctly. But
Hmm.
ever since I was a little child, I started writing little things. I started writing in Gujarati originally, and gradually I moved to Hindi and tilted more towards Urdu later on. So and now I basically write more in Hindi and Urdu.
And English, you write in English as well?
Not so much, no.
Yeah.
So my
I
poetry mostly is in Hindi or Gujarati.
yeah. When I write, I find that because our emotions are in Hindi, mainly my emotions, because even at home, though I'm Gujarati, it's like because I lived in Bombay, it's like I used to speak in Hindi with my family, my parents as well. So like emotionally, you think in Hindi,
Hindi,
you know,
yes.
but I write both Hindi and English, both I write, and I love writing. It just comes. So for me, the poetry just comes and I just write. I don't think much. What about you? How do you do it? It's like you think and think, or how does it?
Okay, I'm only doing two things all the time. Either I'm talking or I'm thinking. There is nothing, there is no third option. So only time when I'm quiet, which is very rare, that's when I write. So
So
um,
you think you used to write more before you were married and before you had children? Has it reduced afterwards, or
no, my poetry has been going in phases. So I used to write when I was 16, 17. I was writing, I was very creative around in that phase. Then when I got married, for few years it was all quiet. I don't think I was even writing, if anything, and not at all. I wasn't writing for a few years, first few years, because it was just all getting used to new surroundings, new country. I think I couldn't write for like first few years. And if I can remember correctly, I think when my second daughter was born, or maybe when I was expecting her, I started writing again. And
hmm,
so, and that's when I started this page on Facebook. I didn't know that people will be following me. I just thought I just need to do something for myself now. Now that I'm a mother to two beautiful, beautiful girls, I need to make this little chota sa space mere liye, khud ke liye bhi. So
hmm,
I started writing around then in 2013. I think I started writing seriously again. So it's a journey.
indeed, indeed. Funny enough,
When,
same thing with
when
me.
did you start writing, Darshana? I have to ask you. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, you can ask. So I started writing when I was a teenager. I used to just anytime, while traveling in the train, I just used to write on pieces of paper, and I used to just put them together, and then,
So you
I
write in like few lines here and there, and then stop and start, and or it has to be in one flow, one poem.
no, it would, I mean, the poetry would just come, and I would pick up a pen, I would just write, not like bits and pieces. It would just come, it would just flow. And then, so one poetry would be written in one go. And sometimes afterwards, I could just make little bit corrections here and there. But normally it would just flow. And I used to, struggle to find pieces of paper because anytime, anywhere, the thoughts used to come
Inspiration
while
आ
walking in rain or, and I used to find a paper and just scribble whatever comes to my mind. And then luckily I didn't throw them. I collected all of them. And then, one person said, I made him read my poems, and, he was my boss. He was getting transferred to another country. And I said, he was also into writing. Not many people have interest in writing and reading. So I showed him my poems, and I said, why don't you give me a feedback before you go, because you have published your own book. So he said, these are beautiful poems. Why don't you write them in a diary? So then I started to write in a diary. And they all were in a diary. And then somehow or the other, uh, this book got published.
beautiful, beautiful.
Tell Me Your Dream and Other Poems. So this is in English, but I do write in Hindi as well.
Do you write in
So
Gujarati?
what I want to ask you was, I find that you uh, do you like write your poem and then you give a title to it, or you think of a subject and you write, or you think of a title first and you write poetries? How does it work with you?
No, mostly it just starts flowing. So I start writing couplets, and I have a lot of influence from Urdu poetry as well. Although my Urdu is not that good, but there is a lot of influence because I listen to a lot of Urdu ghazals, etc. So there is a lot of influence from Urdu. So what happens is I just keep writing couplets, and then I would just put them together, and that I give it a title. Sometimes I don't. I really don't go in a क्या बोलते हैं format. I've never worked in a format.
Mm, yeah, poets don't work in a format. That's
No,
true.
no,
We
there is
can
no.
never, we can never. Yeah. So when I started to publish this book, I needed a designer who would, because the font, they needed a particular kind of font. So they said, this will be the font of the titles of your poems, and this will. And I was like, okay. I said, some of my poems don't have titles.
Yes, yes. No, but
So
what I do normally, Darshana, is I just pick first line of my poem and I just make it a title or something.
yeah, and some of the poems do have titles, but nothing for me. Nothing is fixed. Whatever is is, I just go with the flow. But this person, he said, I can't give in the book. If I publish the book, then it won't be good that some of the poems have titles, some of them don't. So I read them and I gave the titles just because he said, I can't publish half with
Just
titles
came
and
up with
half
some
without
title.
titles.
No,
And
that's
in fact,
happened to me.
yeah, and in fact, I've written a poem, something like that. I don't remember if it is in this book, but something like, "Will you give title to my titleless poems?" Something.
You
And
actually wrote. You actually wrote a poem.
I
Oh,
actually wrote a poem. It was a romantic poem, and then in the end, I was writing. I said, "Will you give title to my
title.
titleless poems?"
Oh,
Asking in this romantic form X, Y, Z. Again, the ending was that, you can give title to my. So yeah, it just I go with the flow. So I think I'm waiting, and the audience is also waiting for your poetry. If you remember anything, if you
okay.
could write one for us.
Not top of my head, but since we are discussing me being mom as well, so this is one of my Hindi poems. I don't know when I wrote, I can't remember, but I wrote it for my children. So it goes like this. ख्वाब सच होते हैं भरोसा कर लो. ख्वाब सच होते हैं भरोसा कर लो. एक दिन तुमको भी सपनों ही में देखा था मैंने. ख्वाब सच होते हैं भरोसा कर लो. एक दिन तुमको भी सपनों ही में देखा था मैंने. होती हैं परियां फरिश्ते भी हुआ करते हैं. होती है परियां फरिश्ते भी हुआ करते हैं. ये भी सच अपने बाबा से सुना था मैंने. है बुरी दुनिया कहा करते हैं कहने वाले. है बुरी दुनिया कहा करते हैं कहने वाले. है भलाई भी एक सच एहसास किया है मैंने. तेरी मुस्कान ही बनेगी तेरी ताकत. तेरी मुस्कान ही बनेगी तेरी ताकत. ऐसा दावा है भरोसा कर लो. अपने जीवन में इतना ही सीखा है मैंने. ख्वाब सोच होते हैं भरोसा कर लो.
Wow, wow, wow. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Such a positive poem, huh? Yeah. So translation for audience, it's a poem which is telling that your dreams can come true. It is
Again,
possible. Don't give up on
something
your
to
dreams.
match with
Am I
your
right?
your book.
Right?
Your book is about dreams coming true
Huh?
as well, isn't it?
Yes. 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 Do you think poets live in a dream world kind of thing? Do you think they have their own dream world sometimes? Do you think?
Might say dream world. Some might want to say cuckoo world.
They can sing.
land.
I can say.
It's a cuckoo land. So yeah, sometimes you are in your zone and you really don't want to think about anything, or yeah, it happens. But I think poets or non-poets, everyone is in their zone from time to time. So ये तो हमारा
Yes.
बहाना है.
That is true. That is true. So, even I lived in India. I was born in India, and then I got married and I migrated here. And after migrating here, I couldn't write for a few years, just like you. I didn't write for actually many years. I didn't write, and then now it's all coming back to me. So, what is it? What do you think it is when we live in India and when we live here? What do you think are the advantages and what are the disadvantages? What are your thoughts on this?
Look, when we move from like wherever you are based, it's not necessary. It could be other way around as well. When we move, there's so much to take in, especially to a new country. There is so much to take in, so much to learn, so many things to adjust with. So it takes a lot of space up here, and maybe that's why your creativity maybe takes a back seat, because you are soaking in. It's like a sponge. Your mind is soaking in into new surroundings, and so maybe that's why there was a kind of mental block where I couldn't write, where you couldn't write, like you said, for many years you couldn't write either. So it's just we were adjusting to a new life and settling in. So maybe that's the reason. Advantages, there are a lot of advantages, but it's about whether you are coming here wholeheartedly or not. So when I decided to move here, like yourself as well, if I have to guess, I got married and I was very happy with my choice in life. So it wasn't very difficult settling in. It was a massive change. It wasn't difficult because jahan dil hota hai, you willingly adjust.
Yes, yes, that's true. That's true. That if you have taken a decision and you have moved in another country, but moving countries is a huge. For me, it was very stressful because being living in Bombay, once you live in a city like Bombay, it's very hard to adapt to other places. But here you go, and also grows on you. London is also a city which grows on you. There are so many opportunities, there's so many things we can do, and there are so many like-minded people. If you find this like-minded people with whose company you enjoy, then wherever you stay,
No, but to
it's
make
just
those
all
new
right,
friends, it takes time to build those relationships, make new friends. It takes time. That's why maybe it's a difficult journey. Because Bombay mein jab aap the, or when I was back in Baroda, we had a whole bunch of friends, family, and now when you move to London, you are adjusting all over again, making new friends all over again. So maybe that's why it takes a bit longer to adjust.
Yes, yes, yes. Yes, yes, it takes a bit longer to adjust. That's for sure. That's for sure. Another thing I noticed that sometimes when we are born in India, we have certain thoughts, and we are sort of you know kind of stuck in that thoughts, and we
Mm.
have some opinions and ideas of people living abroad. But
Hmm.
when you move, you think that those
Then it's a
ideas
cultural
are
shock.
sorry.
Then it's a cultural shock. You come here and you're like, oh, kya ho gaya?
Ex- exactly. So, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, it was like a cultural shock in a different way because, being born and brought up in Bombay from a nuclear family, it was different for me, very different. I was brought up in a very sort of a way that I had the freedom to make my own choices, make my own decisions. But I find that people who are living here are more cultured than back home. What are your thoughts? Would you agree?
Yes, I do agree, and I understand why they are like that. It's because they're away from their country. So they want to hold on to all those things that we didn't
Mother.
appreciate. When we were back home, we didn't appreciate. We were living there, but we weren't appreciative of that culture so much as people who do it here, because they're away from it. When something is taken away from you, you appreciate it more. So that's why I believe people here, they hold on to their roots, their culture, their traditions more so than people who live in India. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. You're so right. What we don't have, we cherish that. So, when I was in Bombay, every time, every weekend, I used to watch all English movies. And funny enough, when I migrated here, I hardly watch any English movies. I'm always watching Bollywood Hindi movies or some Gujarati movies, And I find it so strange. When I told my brothers sisters, they were like, "Really? Seriously?" I was like, "Yeah, it's different. We want sort of, it makes us feel connected when we do all this.
So
Like
when
it
we are
could be
back home,
Bollywood,
we want to see how Western world lives. So
it
maybe
could
that's
be
why we
celebrating
were looking at.
festivals.
Mm, sorry.
It, yeah, even celebrating festivals. I wouldn't celebrate festivals or not so much importance when I was back home. But here,
Okay.
it's like yes, yes, everybody is like, oh, this is Diwali, this is Ganesh Chaturthi. It's like all the more celebrations, and I do take part more than I used to take back home. Like it's like we take it for granted.
Yes,
Oh,
because here
these
it's a small
festivals
community,
come and go,
Krishna. It's a very small
isn't it?
community. Now we can't say small community. We have so many of us here, but it's a small, close knit community, and maybe that's why it's more fun celebrating those festivals. And yes, I have celebrated more festivals after coming here in like religious festivals than I did in India, because India may we were hanging out with friends and we were too busy to follow like religious festivities and everything. So I think that's because we are away from India.
Yes, yes. It makes us feel as if we are at home, isn't it?
So why don't you recite one of your
Yeah.
poems now before we miss out on it completely?
No, no, I won't. I won't miss it since you have requested. So I'll recite from my book itself. Yeah. So as I told you, the title I don't remember whether I gave it before or after, but the title is If. So I've
If
written, if you're a poetry, I would recite you. If you're a poetry, I would recite you. If you are a flower, I would pluck you. If you are a flower, I would pluck you. If you were a leaf, I would fly with you. If you were a leaf, I would fly with you. If you were a tree, I would take shade under you. If you're a tree, I would take shade under you. If you're breeze, then I would feel you. If you're breeze, then I would feel you. If you're rain, then I would gather you in my palms. If you're rain, I would gather you in my palms. If you're a cloud, I would glide with you. If you're a cloud, I would glide with you. If you are, then I am. If you are, then I am.
oh, beautiful, really, really, really nice.
Thank you. So I want to hear one more of your poetries.
um, okay, let me have a look.
Sometimes you write so many poems, and then when you ask to recite, you think, oh, this one. You really can't decide, isn't it?
No, no, no. No. It's not that.
It's not
I
that
can't decide which mood to go for. Philosophical or romantic, or let's go for this one.
romantic. Let's go for romantic because I recited romantic.
Okay. So ये इश्क का नशा है, देखो गलत न समझो. ये इश्क का नशा है, देखो गलत न समझो, दरिया की मौज सा है, होता है कम ज्यादा। दरिया की मौज सा है, होता है कम ज्यादा। हम डूब के फिर उभरे, हम डूब के फिर उभरे, तुम उभर के डूबे। नजरों की भूल भुलैया, खोना है कम ज्यादा। नजरों की भूल भुलैया, खोना है कम ज्यादा। तुम मेरे चांद सूरज, मैं रोशनी तुम्हारी। तुम मेरे चांद सूरज, मैं रोशनी तुम्हारी। अब जलना बुझना तो रहता है कम ज्यादा। मैं खो के खुद को पाई, तुम पा के खुद को खोए। मैं खो के खुद को पाई, तुम पा के खुद को खोए। ये लेन देन है ऐसी, होता है कम ज्यादा। ये लेन देन ऐसी, होता है कम ज्यादा। सब बेहिसाब है फिर, सब बेहिसाब है फिर, मुझको गलत न समझो। सब बेहिसाब है फिर, मुझको गलत न समझो। दिल का किया है सौदा, होता है कम ज्यादा।
Wow, 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 wow. Beautiful. I wouldn't be able to translate all of it in English. Maybe you can say a few words of what it means to our audience.
It's just being in love. When you're meant to be truly deeply in love, everything is acceptable. It's like chalta hai, hota hai.
Basically, as I understood, it says that there is no debit or credit, there's no keeping accounts in love. It's just give and take. And
Yes.
sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but it's all good when it is love. Am I right?
Mm, yes. It's just hota hai kam ziyada.
Just about that. Not exact word to word translation, but
Nahi,
yeah,
poetry you can't
synopsis.
translate word to word.
Yeah,
You can't possibly translate it word to word,
yeah,
because
you can't.
emotions, the person who's writing those poems might be thinking completely different, or the words can't justify the feelings sometimes when you're translating a poem.
Yeah. I was sharing a poem with my very good friend. And, I wrote a poem and I showed it to her. She read it from the book and she said, I like this poem. I said, okay, what do you understand? And, she read the poem and line by line, she told me what she understood of those words. But, when I wrote,
And
I had completely different ideas behind that words. So the perception of the poet's words is a mystery in itself, I think, because what you write,
that's
what you want
why,
to convey, and what people understand is sometimes very different.
like everything else, they understand what they want to understand. They read what they want to read. So that's how poets connect with audience, because when I'm writing, I'm not thinking about those 900 people who are going to read the poem. I'm thinking whatever is going in my mind, but still I'm able to connect with them because they read with their own emotions, that their own backstories, and somehow it works out.
Yeah, yes, yes. There will always be people who will sort of resonate with, your ideas, what you are saying, and some people even read behind the lines, which is so beautiful that you can resonate with people and connect so easily through poetry. It's beautiful, isn't it?
And like you have said, one of my
So
friends, she reads it completely differently to what I write, and sometimes her perception of my poems is even better than what I wrote actually. So it happens. It's all in your eyes.
yes, yes, they say it's all in the heart of what how people understand the depth of it. And you said about translation. Yes, I fully agree that you can never translate word to word, but you run a translation service as well. So tell us a bit more about it. What do you do? And I would like to know, and I think even audience would like to know, because there could be poets who could be watching this. There could be people who would really be keen to have some translation services. So tell us a little bit more about this translating services that you offer.
Okay, so I started doing with like basic translations, A to B translations, when I started 20 years ago. But as gradually I was learning, I realized that people are translating from A to B, maybe word for word, but they are not translating the uh, emotions or the idea behind the actual content. Sometimes what happens is when you are translating from English to Hindi, you have to consider the culture, Hindi culture, or um, क्या बोलते हैं हमारा you have to localize the content as well. So sometimes people, when they translate, they don't realize the importance of localization. So what we do is we do creative translations. So we take into consideration कि कौन सा background है, कौन सी country है, कौन सी language है. So some phrases which might go really well in English, but if you translate them into Hindi or Gujarati or Marathi or Bengali, whatever, they are not going to work. They are not going to make same impact. So we have to think of a phrase that fits well into Bengali context or Tamil context. Or so our translators who work for us, they are semi poets. They are word jugglers. So we pick our translators not just because they know two language, they are bilingual or multilingual. We pick them because they have this hidden talent of poetry, or hidden talent with words and emotions, and the idea behind the story as well. So they have to appreciate that as well. So my translation company is slightly different to what rest of the translation companies maybe they are offering, because we are focusing more on the emotions, translating the idea completely from A to B rather than just translating words from A to B.
Right. Very interesting, very interesting. So keep doing the good work that you're doing. I love this word, creative translation. Beautiful word, creative translation. And yeah, keep writing more poems. Thank you for being my guest today. It was lovely to have you. And let's keep on sharing good work and good poems and pass on lovely positive messages to people around. And viewers and audience, thank you for being with me today. And every Sunday we meet. This is the fourth Sunday. We will do reflections only for 7 Sundays, though there have been guests who have requested to be on my show. So I'm truly honored that they want to be on my show. I haven't decided that yet, but in coming weeks I will. And stay tuned. Next Sunday, same time, 8 p.m. We will meet, and we have a beautiful guest, Eva, and she's a relationship coach, and she's a lovely, very sparkly, lovely lady. So make sure you tune it on next Sunday, 8 p.m. And thank you for joining us today. Bye now. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.